Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Testy Tuesday. Oh yeah, we have that time of the week when we have to test your incredible biblical knowledge. And I'll bet you some of you are going to get this one, but maybe not all of you, because it's a little tough. But it's a story. It's one of those Sunday school stories we all learned as we were growing up. It's how a new king is going to be chosen by the prophet Samuel. A new king? Yeah. Remember, Samuel had first chosen Saul, or should we say, God chose Saul through the prophet Samuel. Yeah. So now Samuel is being told by God, go out and you're going to find us a new king because Saul is such a disappointment. And Saul is is just wandered and strayed so far from the will of God that we got to start all over. Well, this is an interesting story because you might recall Samuel, right from the get go, had warned the people, hey, if you start asking for a king, you're going to ask for all kind of trouble because you know how kings go. Kings get a big head and they decide to wander off on their own and they become corrupt and seeking more and more power. And unfortunately, that's just the way King Saul worked out. So now Samuel's literally shaking in his boots, or his sandals, I guess, as God tells him, stop mourning over the fact that Saul, whom you loved and you really cared about, whom you anointed as the first king of Israel, forget that he's done. We need someone else as king. So I'm going to send you out, by the way. I'm going to send you out to, that guy, Jesse, the Bethlehemite. Say that word 10 times real fast. Bethlehemite. There you go. Go to him and I will tell you which of his sons you will anoint as the new king. Well, it's a kind of interesting, brief story, but it has a lot of action packed into just a few words that we see coming. But here's the thing, it's all about God's choice, not Samuel's choice, God's choice. Here's the testy question for Testy Tuesday. How many sons did Jesse have? How many sons passed before Samuel before he anointed one of them as king? I'm not going to give you numbers to guess. You just tell me how many sons. Well, the correct answer is he had 8. But do you remember the story? The first 7 all came by and Samuel kept thinking, is this the one? Is this the one? Come on, God, you got to tell me when the right one comes. And he thought there were a couple of really good choices there because there were some big strapping guys. And you want someone big and strapping and that looks like he could be a leader and go out and beat up on other people because this is a time of warfare. This is a time of intertribal conflict with other tribes and peoples that lived in the area. Yeah, it was not easy living in that era. So, how many? 8. 8 altogether, but 7 had passed through. And not one single one of them did Samuel hear the word from God. That's the one. Anoint that one as the new king. So he goes, are you sure this is all you got? Oh, yeah, we got one more out there. He's the little runt of he's the youngest one. He's taking care of the sheep. You see, and even taking care of sheep back then wasn't the best job in the world. You were kind of, you got to do something, so get out there and take care of the sheep. So when that person came, maybe I should ask another testy question. What was his name? You all know the answer there. David. Yeah, this would be King David. When he came in, God told Samuel, that's the one, anoint him. And Samuel anointed him, and the scripture says from that point on, the Spirit of the Lord fell mightily upon David. Wow, it's a crazy story because it tells us that God chooses leaders from among us to help lead us into difficult times and through those difficult times, and it's not always who we expect. Yeah, I mean, think about it. Even Moses. Moses couldn't put two words together without stuttering. And he admitted that so much to God. And God said, you know what? You're still going to be my guy. So just take your brother Aaron along to do all the talking. So there's always a way, right? But it's always God's way as well. Fascinating story. There's a lot more that goes on in there. But in fact, really, the big emphasis throughout that whole story, look at it again, is what God sees in us. Not what we see in other people, but what God sees. And what God sees is what's in our hearts. Yep, He sees what's in our hearts. All right, well, God's blessings be with you this day. And, I never told you the passage, I guess, that we're reading from. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 1 through 13. The story of David being anointed by the prophet Samuel. And here's the deal. David basically had to run for his life because Saul, when he found out about it, wasn't too happy. But that's another story for another day. God's blessings be with you.